Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Trev back again here to do a review of comic book Walking Dead issue 83. It hit stands on Wednesday 2 days ago, and it has been selling fast. And if you don't know and you haven't read it, stop watching this. Okay, if you haven't read issue 83, do not watch this. This is going to contain major spoilers because I just cannot talk about what happened in this issue without spoiling it. So I'm going to assume that everybody from this point onwards has read issue 83. If you're unsure, you're not sure if you have, or you know you haven't, then don't watch this. Skip over to that. Okay, now that I've made that point clear, crystal clear, crazy, just crazy. I don't normally do reviews of comic books, but this one was one, for the ages, and I just had to, had to review this guy. So we're in the No Way Out story arc here, and we're about, I think it's 3 issues in officially, and then the 4th one, it'll be concluding up pretty soon, either in issue 84 or 85. We're going to see the conclusion of the No Way Out storyline. As all of you will know, I'll just recite. Basically, the storyline is essentially that zombies have flooded in through the gates, and there's about anywhere between 50 to 100 shoulder to shoulder in their little town now. So most of the people have run into their homes, and essentially in this issue we get to see a lot of deaths. We get to see Morgan dies, even though we kind of knew that was going to happen anyway because he was bitten, so that's not really a death from this issue, that's from the issue before, but that becomes official. And right after that, essentially Rick and Carl and Rick's newfound love, Jesse, she goes with him, and her son Ron, they're going to try to escape. They're going to try to get out. And Rick tries to use the old guts trick. He pulls a zombie inside their house, cuts it up, and covers them with it, and tries to use that to get out. But as soon as they walk out, shit just hits the fan right away. First off, Ron pisses his pants, and that's realistic. I mean, who wouldn't, especially if you're a kid and you've been protected, all this time inside the fences or inside the, these big concrete blocks, separating you from them. It's very realistic that could happen. So he does that, and then, starts talking. Well, there's zombies around, like right around them. And so they attack him, of course, take him out, and then his mom, Jessie, she goes nuts and basically starts screaming, and then she gets taken out. And here's where, probably the most shocking, moments out of all of the whole series of The Walking Dead. I put this as number 2 or number 3. Okay, the first most shocking moment, I would say for sure, has to be when they're leaving the prison and Lori and the baby get shot. That's got to be number 1 to everybody. That has to be the most shocking moment, to me anyway. I'm sure to many of you it would be also. The second one, I believe, would be when Rick got his hand cut off, because you just don't see that happen to protagonists. You don't see that happen to the hero. The hero doesn't get maimed. He doesn't get his right hand cut off. This is either number 3 or number 2. You could either, I say you could put this ahead of Rick and his hand cut off, or you could put it behind. And we see essentially, Jesse won't let go of Carl's hand, and he tells Rick, and then Rick essentially cuts her hand off with the axe. Brutal, man, brutal. But I guess if you have to do it, you have to do it, right? So Rick's become so hardened from all this stuff that he's going to go ahead and do that. And then we get to see the scene. So Douglas comes out, and he's like, Rick, I'm with you, yeah, yeah, yeah. He starts shooting everywhere. And then Rick's like, is everybody okay? I mean, everybody who's left. I mean, you've only got, like, who's left with him? I mean, you've got Carl, Rick, and Michonne, and the doctor from the town or whatever, or the so-called doctor. That's it. So is everybody okay? And then he turns around and he sees it. And the scene that you'll see, on every forum and every website, Carl blown right through, man. Blown right through the right eye, right through the back of the head. Just a bullet just went right through him. And he says, "Dad," and he falls over. He collapses. And then Rick grabs him, runs through a few zombies in the crowd, and kicks the door open for the infirmary. And says it in the last page, says, "Save my son," yada yada yada, to the doctor of the town, or the so-called doctor of the town. wow, wow, what a crazy issue, man. Just something that I had to do a video on. I had to talk about and hear your guys' thoughts on it. What do you think about the direction here that Kirkman's taken with this? This is crazy. I did not think he was going to do this. I know, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts on The Walking Dead and stuff, and I know a lot of people, including myself, really thought that The Walking Dead was going to turn into Carl's story. After Rick left, we all assumed that it would be Carl's story going forward, but. I mean, this is a hard one to say. You've got people on the boards and the forums who are actually analyzing where the bullet went through his head and everything like that, and they're trying to see if, medically, what his chances of survival are. And stuff. People are really getting into this, man. So I want to know from you guys. Obviously, this is just a story, and it tries to be realistic, though. Do you think that Carl is going to make it? I personally say no. I personally think that he's not. I think he's done. Next issue will be his last issue, I believe. And Rick will be totally alone. If you see the cover for issue 85, it's got Rick kind of alone, crouching, like hiding, so to speak. And I really think that this is it for. I really think this is it for Carl. I don't think he's going to make it through this one. I think that this is the end for him, and I'd be very surprised if he did. Although I think that really the formula for the Kirkman works with here, and a lot of people are trying to say that The Walking Dead, the comic book is kind of becoming formulaic. I personally don't feel that it is. I think that he's kept it very original, and even though there's been so many issues, he's been able to do things to keep it, new and different themes about it, and to try to keep it from becoming boring and dragging on. And really, the way I see it is that killing off Carl here is huge, and that's not formulaic at all. But what is formulaic about what Robert Kirkman does is that whatever you expect he's going to do, or you suspect will happen, he'll do the opposite. Really will. We all suspected that Carl would probably survive past Rick. Rick would die before Carl would. And that's exactly the opposite of it looks like what's going to happen at this point. Now, it could still happen that he could still make it out of this with one eye, but, I mean, he's a kid in this kind of world with one eye. Like, he's a kid in this world. Realistically, it's going to be tough. He's going to have someone to protect him anyway, because he's obviously not going to be able to defend himself as well as a full-fledged adult would. But man, I mean, I really don't see him getting out of this one. So that's my prediction. My prediction is he's done after the next issue. As far as Rick goes, I mean, it's really hard to say how long he's going to survive for. I want to say that I think that he'll take it to issue 100. I think that Rick will survive to issue 100, and then that'll probably be it. I think that like Robert Kirkman has said all along, that everybody in the story is fodder. Essentially, every single person is, and I really think that Rick will make it to issue 100, and then that will be it, and he will be done. It'll be really interesting to see how he is able to cope with this on his own, because I'm assuming that he's going to make it out of No Way Out. I'm assuming that he's going to survive past this. I really do think he will. The characters I would really like to see survive this are Rick, for sure. Michonne is cool. I don't think he should get rid of her yet. Andrea is very cool. I'd really like to see her make it out of this alive, and that's really it for me. I mean, Glenn is okay, and then we don't really have any other characters from the from the beginning, from the true beginning, left, aside from really those and maybe a couple more like Sophie and those people. But yeah, I mean, just amazing, man. Like an amazing story all the way through till now. Every issue Kirkman released is just shocking and interesting, and I have to give this a 10 out of 10 for this issue. I mean, everybody is checking this thing out, and it's getting a lot of attention, and as it should. And I think that that's kind of the direction that he's going with in The Walking Dead. That's the purpose of it. Now, I want to hear from you guys, and what do you think on, number one, do you think Carl's dead for sure? Number two, do you think that that Rick is going to get out of this, and do you think he'll survive to issue 100 and past? Do you think he'll survive to issue 200? Let me know what you think. Do you think that... What else was I going to ask? There's those, and then... How do you think that they're going to get out of this mess? How do you think that if Rick does survive, or if you think Carl survives too, how do you think they're going to get out? How do you think they're going to get out of the town, and what way do you think they're going to do it? I think that an interesting turn of events would be if Rick turned, and if Carl dies, and then Rick says, fuck this, get me to the where they're keeping all the guns, basically. and he changes, instead of trying to just run away all the time. He says, "F this noise, let's take him down." And he goes, and he fucking gets loaded up with guns, and he comes out, and he just starts blasting, and he just, clears the whole fucking place of them, piles and piles of them. I think that would be super cool. How realistic would it be? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. They're not very fast moving. If you had enough guns and the town, you could avoid them pretty well by running behind backyards and stuff like that and through houses. I think that 50 to 100 of them, which is what it looks like there is, with the people on the other side of the fence possibly dragging a lot of them away by just getting their attention and running up the street away to get the zombies away from there. I really think that it could happen. So I think that what may happen is they may have to stand and fight. So you may have the people in the church, like Abraham and the others, they may come at it, and Rick, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I think I've droned on long enough. Check this out if you haven't checked this out. It's fucking awesome. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you. Peace.